Well, there have been quite a few challenges this year, namely in disputes. The GHA, for instance, we've had quite a few demonstrations outside Number 6. Not a lot of progress being made in those cases. It's for most part, it seemed like we've been hitting brick walls with the government mainly. But I think from what we can learn, one of the things that we probably have learned is assess how interactions between us and the employer, in this case the government, will affect how we go forward. And I think that's one of the main lessons that we've learned this year.
Now, the union was involved in the public sector pay disputes, a biggie this year, as well as securing agreements in private sector workplaces. What lessons have been learned from the different negotiations?
The lessons have been quite intense because, as I said earlier, the way we interact with the employer has changed completely. So the main thing that we can take away from that is that we still know that, at least in Unite's case, because we were the only one who called action this time, was that when you call action, it does, to an extent, create that necessary push for a resolution to be found. And lo and behold, a resolution was found. Although whether that resolution will come to a full fruition all depends on next year, because this was all depending on a multi-year agreement in June 26 when the next budget announcement. So we'll have to wait and see for that one.
And with the cost of living pressures and the ongoing negotiations, what are the union's top priorities for 2026, and how will past experiences shape your approach?
In terms of priorities, I think we need to look back at when we gave our wish list to the now GSLP government. At the time, they were going to stand for election, and we obviously hand out our election wish list to all the governments, to all the incumbents. And at that point, we created quite an extensive wish list. Some of those have been achieved. For example, we have now more interaction with the government than ever before. We sit down with the Chief Secretary, we sit down with Industrial Relations. There's that connection with the government that we, in the past, didn't have, and it's continued, so that's a good thing. However, we have fallen short in terms of enhancing employment laws for the private sector in particular. For example, maternity, paternity. We hoped that there would be more movement on that, where we still stand now, where, for example, at least in the case of the male, there's no statutory paternity leave. That's something quite shocking in what we call a modern Gibraltar. So we do want to see enhanced employment laws in that sense. We also ask for sickness benefit to be increased in the private sector, and obviously that trickles down to all employers. So if you put it at a bare minimum, what happens in Gibraltar and probably all around the world is that the employers will stick to the minimum, and that unfortunately creates the knock-on effect that these employees suffer as a result of the laws not going far enough. So these are, at least for the private sector. In terms of public sector, we all know we're waiting on what we can negotiate from now until June 2026. Obviously, we do have to mention the elephant in the room, which is the gambling tax. We're very much aware that that has had effect on the potential, or will have an effect on the potential revenue of the government this year. So it all stands to see whether we can actually stick to what we wanted to achieve together, and hopefully we can do the best for members, employees of the government, and Gibraltar at large.
And in respect of other unions, where is Unite in terms of your relationship with other unions?
At least I can say on a personal level, because you can't speak for the whole organisation until you've actually spoken to everyone. The general feeling is that we do have to find a common ground where we're working for the betterment of our membership. But it happens. We're challenging for members here and there. We have a workplace we get membership, they want to get them back, and the to and froing of membership creates this friction between unions. But I do think that it could be better. Right now, I'm not going to lie, it's not in a good place, but I do feel that there's a lot of work that can be done, albeit at arm's length, because I feel the memberships are so enshrined in their own ethos and their own ideas that we've seen that it's sometimes very difficult to mix them together. So we are at a difficult point, but things can be improved.